Greeting students. So in this video, I'll be discussing about the topics which we are going to cover in week 3. Okay, so let me share the PPT for you. This week, we're going to start with the Unit 2, Business Research Design. So Unit 2 is all about research design. And these are the topics which we are going to cover in this unit. So we're going to discuss business research design, but as per your syllabus, we have only 3 designs to be studied. That is exploratory study, descriptive study, and causal research. Okay, let me go back. Okay, we have only 3 research designs to be studied: exploratory, descriptive, and causal research. And in exploratory, we are going to discuss about meaning, when you have to go for exploratory research, and what are the different data collection processes we have, methods we have, and how are we going to formulate the hypothesis here. And then we're going to start with descriptive research meaning and types, and the rest we are going to discuss in the next week. Okay, so to start with, let us now discuss business research design. Okay, so research design is nothing but a framework or a blueprint for conducting a research project. Okay, so whenever you take up a research project, it is better you have a blueprint with this. So before, as we start, before we constructing the house, we prepare a blueprint, the plan for our house, based on which you can execute our plan. So similarly in research also, what happens before we start with the research process, it is better we design, we plan. So that is called as research design. Okay. So in this research design, what are the components we need to include? We'll be discussing. Okay. So whenever you have this business research design in your hand, what happens? It will be acting as a foundation, a base for you to conduct the research. Okay. If at all you have a plan with you, only thing left out with you is to carry out the research, execute or implement whatever you have planned. Okay. Here and there, some modifications, some changes will happen, but a broad design will make your research project easy. Okay, this will be a very effective way of conducting your research study and more efficient also. Okay, so this research design involves these following components. So we have already discussed in unit 1 also, where I have briefed you about the components which you have to include in the research design. So you have to first define like what is the information which is needed, and then you have to design whether it is exploratory, descriptive, or it is causal research. You have to decide which type of research you are doing. Okay, because for each type of research there are different types and different methods which you have to use. If you are using the exploratory research, then the way of doing or conducting research is different and the methods are different. If it is a descriptive research, it is different, and if it is a causal research, again the methods and type, everything it differs. So you have to decide which type of research you are doing. Okay. Then once you have decided the type of research, it is left to you to decide like which measuring and scaling techniques you are going to use to measure the variables here. So variables you would have identified during the literature review process itself. Okay, so based on that, you can construct the questionnaire or an interview form, and it is a purpose of your data collection process. Okay. Then once you have done with like which scaling technique I have to use, which instrument should I have to use to collect the data, the next thing is you have to specify like from whom you're going to collect the data, who are your sample population, how many is your sample size, that you're going to discuss here. Okay, in brief about sampling, you're going to discuss in unit 3 when we start unit 3. But in research design, what happens when you are about to design, plan, print, blueprint, you have to brief all these things. So once you have done with your sampling process, the next thing is you have to think of how do you analyze the data. Okay, there are various statistical tests available to do the data analysis process, or there are various tools available now, softwares available now, using which you are going to analyze the data. So which test is suitable for you, that test also is going to include it in your research design. So these are the various components of business research design. So one is first you should be clear with what information is required or needed for your study. You can just go through your objectives, and then decide on which type of research you are doing. So we have discussed many types of research in Unit 1. Okay, so as per your syllabus, as I'm mentioning, only three types of research you're going to study, designs you're going to study, exploratory, descriptive, or causal. Okay, so decide which type of research. I told you, you have to be clear with these three types because all the methods, types, everything, it is going to differ from different type of research designs. Then you're going to decide to collect the data, so which type of instrument you're going to use, and from whom you're going to collect the data, what will be the size of your sample. Finally, once you get the data, how are you going to analyze, which test you're going to perform. So these things need to be included in business research design. Okay. So once we classify the marketing research designs or the business research design, it can be classified into two. One is exploratory research design, the other one is conclusive research design. So under conclusive, we are going to study descriptive and causal. Okay, exploratory is the basic research which you are doing to explore the variables or to explore the reasons, causes for your study. But in conclusive research design, you will be able to draw the conclusion out of the data which you have collected. So that is the reason it is called conclusive. It will come to a conclusion. So under this you have descriptive and causal research. Okay. So again under descriptive you have cross-sectional design and longitudinal design, which we are going to discuss in the next slides. So when you have to compare between these three types of research designs based on some parameters, so these are the differences which you are going to get. One is based on the objective of doing this research. Okay. So what is the objective behind taking exploratory research? One thing is you want to discover ideas and insights. So then you can go for exploratory. If at all you want to describe the market characteristics of our group of people or an organization or its functions, then you can go for descriptive research. If at all your research objective is to study the cause and effect relationship, you can go for causal research. Similarly, when it comes to the characteristics of these basic types, in case of exploratory, this research is very flexible enough, it's versatile, often on the front end of the total research. Whenever you do a research, in the beginning, you're starting with exploratory research itself. In case of descriptive, it is marked by the prior formulation of specific hypothesis. It is pre-planned and well-structured design. But in case of causal also, here you can do the manipulation of your independent variables and you can control the mediating variables. It is also well-structured design. Under each types, you have different methods. Okay, so under the exploratory, you can use non-probability method because you have to explore and get more idea about the variables or your topic. So no pre-planned analysis technique is here used here, mainly based on secondary data, case study, and it is a qualitative type of research. In case of descriptive, as I told you, it is well structured, well planned, and it mainly uses probability sampling designs. Okay. Causal also very well defined sampling technique, and it has experimental and control group to compare the results and see the cause and effect relationship. Okay. Then coming to exploratory, we start off with each type of research here. Exploratory research. So the major emphasis in exploratory research is converting the broad, vague statements into small, precise problems. Okay, as I told you in the beginning, you will not be aware of the complete knowledge about your topic or your issue of concern. Okay, so you want to gain more and more knowledge, you want to explore and convert that broad idea into a specific problem statement, a small statement. Then you can go for exploratory research. Okay, usually this will be in the beginning of any of the research, you start with exploring only. While when you do this exploratory research, you will come across many ideas, insights, which will help you to form further the hypothesis formulation also. Okay, identification of variables, hypothesis formulation, all these are possible. Then coming to the characteristics of this exploratory research, already we explained. As I told, it is very flexible enough. It is not rigid, kind of like other experimental or descriptive. It is very flexible enough because you have to gain more and more knowledge about the topic. So that is the reason you don't, stick on to one type of method or design here. And it is very versatile. You can have very different methods to get the data. And for data collection, you are using structured forms, but not very well designed, not structured forms you are using. So as and when spontaneously you get questions, you keep on asking and start collecting the data. And here no experimentation is required, and the cost also incurring doing this research is very less. Okay. Now, when once we come to the methods, you'll be able to understand what it is. And this type of research also very allows very wide exploration of views and thoughts, and it is interactive in nature, and it is usually open-ended. So usually open-ended in the sense, open-ended and closed-ended are the two types of measuring and scaling techniques. Okay? Usually in descriptive, you will have all closed-ended questions, but in case of exploratory, usually it will be open-ended. Okay, you will leave the answers to the sample to, leave the question, and the respondents are free to answer however they want. Okay, that is the reason you get many ideas or insights into the issue. Okay, so what is the main purpose of conducting this exploratory research? One is when you are not clear about the problem, you want to clearly define the problem statement, formulate the problem, then you can go for exploratory research. Okay? When you want to identify alternate courses of action of doing the research, then when you want to develop the hypothesis statements, because you have to identify the variables and write the statements. So you can isolate key variables and also formulate the relationship between the variables during this exploratory research. Then you want to gain insights on developing a new approach to the problem, or establish priorities for the further research or appropriate to any problem which is very little known. Okay, no further information or more of research has been done. You can always explore the things and get to know more about your problem. So this is the purpose of doing the exploratory research. So there are various exploratory research methods. As I told you in the beginning, you have to decide the type of research methods. So in case of exploratory research methods, there are usually 4 to 5 methods which you have to use to collect the data. Okay. The first one is literature search, right? So, literature is readily available. Okay, so referring to the previous literature, it will help you to identify the variables. As I told you, also, once you have identified the variables, it will be very helpful for you to develop the hypothesis. Okay, so how do you search for literature in trade journals, professional journals, in market research finding publications, or company reports, websites? Okay, all these are readily available sources to search for the literature. Okay, suppose for example, the problem is you want to know the market research problem, why are sales down? Okay, then you want to quickly analyze with the help of published data, which would indicate like whether the problem is an industry problem or a firm problem. So three possibilities will exist to formulate the hypothesis. One is the company's market share, whether it has declined, but industry's figures are normal, or the industry is declining and hence the company's market share is also declining, or the industry share is going up, but the company's share is declining. So if we accept the situation that our company sales are down despite the market showing upward trend, then we need to analyze the marketing mix variables. Okay, so searching for these variables using literature will certainly help you to get more and more insights about the problem. Okay, so in literature survey, we have like various resources, as I told you, basically a secondary data source. Okay, you can go through the Google Scholar site where easily available, freely available, downloadable articles are available, and many other resources are also available through which you can download the articles. Okay, so this is about literature. So when you're doing a literature survey, what you can do is you, for a particular problem, you will get thousands and thousands of literatures. So when you are going through those literatures, so you have to download those literatures and make a folder of it. So whenever like you start reading the literature, you feel like whichever is very close to your problem or very much relevant to your topic of interest, you can start segregating each topic and create a different folders. Okay, and in each folder you will have a papers related to a particular domain. Then you, at the end, whichever the literature you feel is very close to your problem, you can keep those literature and try to read completely the literature. And doing this, it will help you to understand the gaps. Okay, what the literature gap is, and what else you can do in your study. So you'll get an idea about what how objectives can be framed, how research designs can be framed. Okay, and what are the methods and techniques which can be used, tools which are available, and what were the findings. Okay, the gap identification is the main intention of doing the literature survey. Okay, and another method is expert survey. This is also called as experience survey. Okay, so if at all you think like getting the information from the literature is not that vast, okay, or otherwise you want to speak to the people who have a domain knowledge, okay, then you can talk to the people who are well informed or know about the domain. So these people are called experienced peoples or expert peoples. So you can do the survey of these peoples. Okay, so here there is no questionnaire used. You can adopt any unstructured questions which can be posed to the identified people, and the responses can be recorded. For example, a group of housewives may be approached for their choice for a ready-to-eat product. So if you want to gain more insights or the opinion of the people about ready-to-eat products, what you can do is the housewives will be the best respondents, people who are experienced in that. You can approach them and get the data. Okay. Suppose if a publisher want to, newspaper publisher want to know the reason for poor circulation for this newspaper, he might meet the newspaper sellers, public reading, general public, business community, etc., to know what is the opinion about their newspaper. This is about expert survey. Focus group. Okay, a group of people again you're going to identify who are well known in that particular domain. Okay, whom you think like they have the knowledge about the topic. A group consisting of 8 to 12 people can be made as a focus group people. You can arrange for a discussion, one-to-one, a group discussion, and all these people will have a common background and they will have share a common experiences in that particular domain. So if at all this required, the researcher can act as a moderator, start probing the questions and recording the responses. So all the different group of people, I mean the different individuals in the group will be sharing their views on the domain. So you'll be getting more and more insights on the topic. Then the last method is secondary data analysis. As I told you, this literature survey, experience survey, and this all these are secondary based analysis only. Not only from journals, we'll be also getting the information from various other sources like bibliographies, company reports, guides, catalogs, internet, digital libraries, all these things. So you can make use of these secondary data available to get more insights about the topic. Okay. The last type is case study analysis. So case study, analyzing a case sometimes even also give more insight to solve the problem which you are being interested in. So case histories of the companies, many of the magazines and the journals you can go through, many of the case studies about their company cases would have been published with the solutions, and they will also suggest the implementations or improvements in that. So this will also serve as a secondary source to get the more insights about the problem. For example, case study on Mumbai Dabbawalas. You know the very popular case study, Mumbai Dabbawalas. It will give you an insight into the problem of supply chains if you are interested in supply chain distribution. Okay, so the company which wants to practice or implement supply chain, then it can take useful insights from this particular case study. So these are the various methods under exploratory. So one is the literature survey, experience survey, case study, focus group, and secondary data analysis. Okay, so this is one small case which we are going to discuss in the class. And whichever research it is, either it will be under qualitative or quantitative research. Okay, so what we discuss exploratory research will be under a qualitative research. So qualitative research means it's an unstructured research methodology. It's on small samples. It will provide insights and understand the problem setting. But in case of quantitative research, it seeks to quantify the data. The data can be measured and quantified. All your descriptive and experimental will come under quantitative research. Okay. Um, so in this qualitative research methods, again, we are going to discuss about the projective techniques. Okay. So as per your syllabus, we are going to discuss about projective techniques. So under projective technique, we have word association test, completion test, expressive technique, and thematic perception test. Okay, projective techniques usually it will be a qualitative research again, as I told you. So these are the indirect methods of gathering information. When the data you think it cannot be collected using some direct method, so indirectly you can collect the information. How you can collect using by unstructured questioning. Okay, there are various tests available. The first one is word association test. Okay, here it consists of presenting a stimulus of words to the respondent. So, who would like to answer quickly with the first word that comes to his mind. Then the respondent quickly answers by answering, gives the word that he or she associates with that particular word, and the researcher try to analyze the mindset of the person. Okay, for example, what brand of detergent comes to your mind first when I mention washing of expensive clothes? Okay, so I can take the name of Surf, Tide, Key, any other brands which first comes to my mind. Then completion techniques. Here we have two types again, sentence completion and story completion. So in sentence completion, we'll have incomplete sentences, and these sentences are provided to the respondents. So they will be completing the sentences. So using that, they are looking into the type of answers they have filled in. We'll get to know the impact or the impression on that particular brand of uh, product. Okay, story completion also. Here a situation will be described to a respondent. So a respondent will be asked to complete the story based on their opinion and attitude. Thematic perception test is here the individuals will be given with cards with pictures. So looking into the picture, the respondent has to narrate a story. So the respondents in between when the uh, respondent is narrating the story, the expressions, pauses, emotions are analyzed here. And in expressive technique, here the respondents are again presented with some verbal or visual situation, and they are asked to relate the feelings and attitudes of the other people to the situation. So here the techniques of role playing and a third person like respondent is used here. Okay, so the role playing is uh, um, involved here so that they express their opinion and attitude during the role play. These are the various techniques under projective techniques. So hypothesis formulation, sometimes it might be possible during the exploratory research process and sometimes it might not be possible during the exploratory stage. Again, it depends on the problem. This is all about exploratory research, and we'll be starting the descriptive research, mainly the conclusive research, under which descriptive we have descriptive research. So descriptive research is nothing but you're describing the characteristics of a individual group or an organization, and you're just mentioning the status as it is. You're not going to say what is the effect between independent and dependent variable here. What is happening and what happened, you're going to describe in the descriptive research. And in descriptive research, it is very structured type of research. Here you have two types again. One is cross-sectional and the other one is longitudinal. Cross-sectional research is you are collecting the information for one particular time period and you are not repeating it. But in case of longitudinal research, what you are doing is you are after some time period, after some gap, you're going to repeat the same experiment with the respondents and collect the data. So these are the two types. Okay. And when you have to collect the data for descriptive research, you might use some structured questionnaires. So usually closed-ended questions. So using that, you're going to collect the data. So how do you do that? Using the survey forms. Okay. So the surveys we are going to discuss in the next week. Right. So this is all about this week's content. Thank you.